Welcome back to PPW High Voltage. Paul Bo's talking again, so I'll talk over him. Brandon Scott on the way to the ring. That's what you need to know.
I thought I smelled something fishy when I came in here.
What's that?
Brandon Scott.
Why?
He only shows up when he's up to no good.
Well, the Robinsondale, Minnesota native, a well-traveled competitor, EJ, Global Force Wrestling, WWE, West Coast Wrestling in Oregon. He goes all over the place. He brings his old man to the shows. I think
Absolutely.
His old man,
Brandon Scott, what are you even doing back here?
doing a little strut in front of us,
Look at that.
asking where his love is. Brandon Scott, the longest reigning PPW Television Champion in the history of this fine company.
Gotta give respect where respect is due.
Multiple appearances on WWE television, both this year and
What's
last.
that?
What's what?
WWE. Never heard of it.
Brandon Scott got a jaw with Paul Bowe. That's a waste of time. I'll tell you that. I do that once a month. What a waste of time that is. What's not a waste of time, EJ? The man coming down the ring, impressing a lot of people. The Hungarian hero, Laszlo Arpad. And Brandon Scott's going to have an uphill battle tonight.
Brandon Scott lives for uphill battles, bravado.
Well, here's a man who started his career in 2009. He came to the United States to prove his wrestling worth, and he has been doing a fine job of it since coming. Laszlo Arpad tried out for WWE last year. He's on the radar, as is Brandon Scott. This one, EJ, is going to be a very good one. Get out of the way, Holbert. Crowd not sure what to make of this one. But Brandon Scott is ready, or at least he appears to be. And Laszlo Arpad has got this crowd in Hazleton right firmly behind him. Brandon Scott mockingly putting his body between the ropes, trying to stop Arpad from coming over. And Brandon Scott doesn't look very impressed. Strutting his way out here in front of you. John with you, EJ. Asking you where the love was.
Laszlo from Hungary. You know where I would go if I was hungry?
Oh, no.
I'll go to Turkey. Did I say that joke before, bravado?
Oh, no. It's
You
late.
didn't laugh. Did you hear that before?
It's late in the night. It's late in the night. Let's just say that.
I'm here all week, folks.
Oh,
Brandon Scott getting out of Dodge very quickly.
Playing mind games. The former TV champion going to do a little walk around the ring, now doing jumping jacks in front of us. Does not seem to be in the least bit worried about Laszlo Arpad.
I'll tell you what, though, it's all part of Brandon Scott's plan. If he's doing something out here, it's because he means to do it. And he is out here with a game plan and a strategy, and this is all part of it.
Fine point, EJ. Brandon Scott, a very strategic wrestler, down to the bone, or down to the note, excuse me, of just what he's doing. And you're right, the mind games continue. We'll have to see if Laszlo Arpad bites. He won't, and Brandon Scott will roll into this match. We are officially started. But Brandon Scott backing off from Laszlo.
See, using that in between the ropes to break the action there, get things down to his pace.
Arpad growing frustrated. The look on his face says it all. And Brandon Scott continues to do laps around the ring. And here comes Arpad, and Brandon Scott doesn't see him. Might have heard me call that, and Brandon Scott starts running. Look out, Frank Boris. And Laszlo Arpad too smart for that.
Right down on the funny bone, but there's nothing funny about missing an elbow, Phil Bravado. Not that you would know about that. Big chop from Laszlo.
Brandon Scott's face says it all. Arpad's big frame coming in, the 6'5", 253-pounder, throwing that chop. Wants it to be quiet.
Missing wildly, Brandon Scott anticipating that one. Tell you what, we've seen Brandon Scott against every caliber of competitor here at PPW. Oh, look at that. He has never been thrown across the ring quite like that before.
Well, Brandon Scott gives up 65 pounds. That's a lot to give up in a wrestling match. Arpad, taller, bigger in frame, muscular. Brandon Scott's going to have to figure out a way to combat that.
And usually I'd say Brandon Scott has the experience advantage, but both these men very evenly matched in that department as well.
And Mr. Excellence hung up there, all the blood rushing to Brandon Scott's head. Starting to get dizzy, and you're seeing the power of Laszlo right in the middle of the ring. And down goes the former PPW Television Champion. Brandon Scott returning to PPW this month. The match was signed earlier today between him and Laszlo.
I haven't seen Brandon Scott in quite some time here in PPW. Whenever he comes, you could bet it's going to be contender for match of the night.
That's well said. We'll not argue with that. And what an inventive move by Brandon Scott. Very smart.
You got to talk about ring awareness. He used every part of the ring right there, simply because he knew where he was at and where his opponent was at.
Brandon Scott going to keep doing victory laps, premature victory laps. Can't let this affect the outcome of the match. Running around the long way of the ring. And throwing Laszlo right into that exposed steel and sitting right next to me.
Good thing we had an extra seat out here.
Brandon Scott bringing everybody over to the commentary table.
Come on.
Laszlo laying out and Brandon Scott with arms raised in the middle of the ring.
Brandon Scott using the commentary booth as a weapon out here. Holbert should have disqualified him for that. I don't care what you say, Bravado.
And again into the steel post. Brandon Scott.
You know what? You were asking before how you make up a 65-pound weight advantage. This is how you do it, Bravado.
Well, it seems to be working so far. Brandon Scott going to do the tour. Throws him into the ring post and then throws him inside just for good measure.
Hazelton crowd loves when someone gets thrown into the guardrail.
Smart pinning attempt by Brandon Scott, only getting a 2. Going right back down. The ever-aggressive Brandon Scott into a head scissors, slowing this down. Thinking about what he's going to do next.
This is where you're seeing the fundamentals come into play here. And Brandon Scott, nobody knows the fundamentals of pro wrestling better than this man right here.
Hazelton crowd starting to get behind Laszlo Arpad as Laszlo bridging or attempting to bridge out.
It's effective. Laszlo back on his feet here. Beautiful
chop by Laszlo.
Visibly staggered though. Brandon Scott definitely took something out of Laszlo here with those 2 attacks using the corner of the ring and the commentary booth.
Well, the second one, Laszlo got air. I've never seen anybody hit that as hard as he did in this gym.
Absolutely.
And I've been here far too long.
Absolutely. I'll agree with that.
Wait, what?
Wait, huh?
I don't know. I thought you were picking on me. Still think you are.
Brandon Scott with a neck breaker.
slapping his hands together, implying that this is an easy one. We both know, EJ, that that's far from the truth. Both men giving it their all in this match. And smart strategy. You were talking and alluding earlier to the strategy of Brandon Scott. He's slowing it down, slowing the bigger guy down, trying to get some momentum here, trying to figure out what his next move is. Brandon Scott, a strategic and tactical wrestler, and using it to his advantage right now.
Definitely, Laszlo needs to rethink his strategy here. Both these men looking for a big W. Climb their way back up those heavyweight ranks here at PPW.
Brandon Scott looks exhausted. Laszlo looks exhausted. Jim Holbert looks exhausted.
Well, that doesn't take much. Brandon Scott up to the middle rope.
Scott wanting praise from everybody. He ain't getting it from no one. And in the meantime, wasting a whole lot of time.
Absolutely. Laszlo has to be biding his time here. Scott went to drop the fist. Laszlo moved out of the way.
Laszlo Arpad started to get a little bit of momentum from that. He had to obviously duck out of the way of that or it would have been over. Brandon Scott quickly sees the momentum change. And in the meantime, he's got a right hand that doesn't feel too good. Flying knee by Laszlo.
Brandon Scott ran right into that one. That's a game changer right there. Brandon Scott receives the sidewalk slam.
Middle of the ring pin. Laszlo grabbing his jaw. At the same time that he was going for the pinning attempt, freeing up one of the hands. Brandon Scott might have used that to his advantage and got out of that one alive. Scott barely looks like he can stand up.
Scott has that neck hooked, uses it to get out, pushes Laszlo out of the way, runs right into that back elbow.
Boot by Laszlo slows down Brandon Scott. Laszlo up to the second rope. Scott kicks out his feet. Smart move. Jim Holbert can barely stand to watch it.
I'll tell you what, Brandon Scott is absolutely ruthless, and you saw it right there. No.
Look at the look on Brandon Scott's face. Cannot believe it. Are you kidding me? He says to referee Jim Holbert, who throws up two fingers in response. Both men giving it their all tonight here on PPW High Voltage.
Holbert's taking a breather there, hands on his knees. Brandon Scott looks like he's going to climb up to the top rope.
Scott trying to get enough energy to get up to the top. He does. Perched up there with far too much time. Laszlo
realizes where he's at, runs through it. Big super kick to return the favor to Brandon Scott.
And now Laszlo looking like he's getting some strength out of this. A seesaw match back and forth.
Raw strength there from Laszlo. Picks Brandon Scott up straight from the mat.
And holds on for three of them. That just charged Laszlo up, and this crowd getting behind Laszlo.
Brandon Scott staggered. Big forearm. Will that be enough to keep Mr. Excellence down?
It is. A great match by two men on the WWE radar, only here at PPW and only on PPW High Voltage. What a match.